Another aspect of this movie was the court case. The movie kind of centered around the ongoing battle between the Zimbabwe government and the farmers in their fight to keep their land in international court. It was very interesting to see how the Zimbabwe government refused to fight fairly. They kept dragging out the court case in hopes that the farmers would lose money, or they could be intimidated off their land, and these tactics were almost effective, but they persevered, and eventually they won their case in international court. The interesting fact comes from when the filmmakers were asking about whether they will be protected. The lead counsel said, "I can't comment on that, I don't know." And then later in the movie, you find out that their farm was actually burned down. This demonstrates that the Zimbabwe government really doesn't care even for international laws, that it will still do what it wants, and how there is no respect there for legitimate rights or legitimate claims. When the international court rules against the Zimbabwe government, the lead counsel walks out. So this is another example of the Zimbabwe government not fighting fair. But it raises the other question of, would these farmers had access to the capital and the ability to fight their case in international court had they not been white? I don't know if there's a clear answer to that. I'm gonna venture off and guess and kind of go with my gut and say no, they wouldn't. But at the same time, it was their only avenue for them to keep their farm. So I can't fault them for that. So anyway, moving on. This film, like I said, was extremely moving. Almost brought me to tears, but we'll keep that between us. I can't stress enough. It really makes you question of what does it mean to be African, and how in a few short years someone that was a hero across Africa has now become a dictator, a person who has no respect for the people within their country, and violates every human right imaginable. So I'm going to tie this back into the readings. The readings talked about the farmhands and how they're kind of caught in between the two forces, the farm owners and the Zimbabwe government. In the film, you see a few farmhands, but they aren't really given a voice. They're caught in between because, on the one hand, they need the farms for money, employment, etc., but on the other hand, they are seen as a threat to the current regime because they will vote against the current political party in the opposition party. But at the same time, the farmers themselves don't exactly give them a decent life. They're almost tied to the land in a sense of like serfdom. So they are this group of people who are passed back and forth between both parties. They're almost downcast. I would say that if anybody has a legitimate claim to the land, it would probably be the farm workers themselves. They live there, they work the land, they do all the hard manual labor, and yet they are caught in this violent struggle in between the farmers, excuse me, and the government. And the film starts out with one of the farmhands being beaten by mercenary groups in attempts to intimidate. So I can see how it could be troublesome for those working on the farms, and they just want a living. They want to make some money and you know have meaning in their lives. So I think this is the real tragedy. There is the farmhands. Anyway, so that's all for tonight. Next time we will be talking about From a Whisper. It's about the Kenyan bombings. Hopefully, it'll be interesting. So see you then.